certified recognized. Yeah.
Okay, so there are some.
There are fire-resistant wood shakes that are accepted by insurance companies. There are. They exist.
Okay. Title state inspection. Yes, road shingle. Road shingle. Clay. Used to use those around wood. Those are okay.
Yeah, because we don't want anything that goes against that guideline. Yeah.
I went to the taco day the other day and I met a woman who just lived in the hacienda, and I think you bought her house.
Yeah.
I-
Ellen.
Yes.
You know Ellen?
Oh, I just met her.
Oh, you just met her.
Yeah.
She's so much happier there. She really wanted to transition there, but she couldn't afford to fix up her house. And she didn't know where she fell. Yes.
She told me the whole time. That's right, that's right. She told me the whole story. She seemed very nice. She said she's seen, she said she'd seen a great deal of Garren out there and buddies in the yard. She's seen that.
Oh, I know, but it's
Sign
that
this, sign that. We don't like the landscaping.
Your pet project? Your favorite?
Wants to stay a little bit happy though.
She doesn't like all that stuff.
No, there's a sign on the house that I love. Says beware the dog, don't trust the cat either. You're gonna keep that.
Oh, it's 2022.
Otherwise, I was gonna say.
Oh, you might be interested? Oh.
I said, I don't have a cat, but I would love to.
It's a great design of first line.
My sister had that cat. I don't have cats anymore, I used it.
That's correct.
But I wish I would have that.
Yeah. She's a really great person, and she's lived here for a long time. She's got shops in town.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. One over here and then one over at the barnyard. Selling incense candles and stuff like that. Little shops and stuff like that. Oh.
There used to be a candle shop.
It was
Where
like,
Simon Ball is now, there used to be a candle shop.
there's a crab in that elm tree or something.
Elm tree.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff she had. And little specialized perfumes that she could make, you know, dressing things and stuff.
Used to be stores down. No, Hillary and Bob.
Oh, wow.
And Pierre Dew. They got a. It's a mixture.
I don't know how they work around, it's so amazing.
City Hall roof, which you've already reviewed. Sunset Center, Casanova, which you reviewed. Sunset Center paint. Main library paint, interior and exterior. Almost ready to go for bid, almost ready to go with building permit review, written residence review. So I'll get your next week coming.
Yeah. Well,
I don't remember what it's like, so now it makes
she's
us
come very close to
make
being
sure that
hired and told her
the things that you're
based out of the Carmel Valley Roasting Company.
Oh, yeah, Ziggy.
Yeah, yeah, he's been a great, I mean, he's educated, you know, he's understand, he's in history, and like, just like, I like how they started, you know?
Did you read the historical context statements?
Yeah, metal, plastic, and glass are the exception, the issues. Metal, plastic, and glass, so I guess if it's synthetic. Yeah, if it's like synthetic but not plastic.
Well, I guess asphalt. Class plastic? Oh, fiberglass.
I don't know. I don't think that sounds very attractive, but. Oh, yeah, it looks like that.
Yeah.
Seems like it's fair.
Yeah, look them up.
Yeah.
I want to find this, on this.
Not a bad idea.
here and I'll get my act together.
Yeah, they said they're actually better than the well, if they look look at this. Here's an installation that was really nice.
So I don't know how to do it backwards. Oh, okay. I didn't see that. I saw that it was a response. But we could have all written together. So it was the response all this time. That was a yeah, two minutes.
There's some new excellence key on this breaking down those plastics.
I got something wrong. I was trying to. Oh, here it goes. There it is.
Big crowd for a small agenda. I know. Just turn it. Just. Yeah. Mhm.
Just the other.
Just tell it what you want it to do, Aaron.
Oh yeah.
Exactly. And then, is this a hint or what?
No, those have been there. So.
Been there forever.
Yeah. So yeah, nothing personal meant by those whatsoever.
What is it?
A box of mints.
Yeah. Don't eat those. Don't eat those, Aaron.
Have they been here since
Yeah.
1920?
For the
Yeah.
pandemic.
Yeah. Okay, let me see. We can't start yet because we don't have Bolton.
Are we?
Yes. Oh, he's got.
Yes,
this-
you do. You've had me
There
for
he
a
is.
while.
We
What are you
do.
talking
I
about?
just didn't recognize you with your California receivership group logo on there.
Is,
Oh, yeah. Well, that's
You may
for my
want to take
job.
that off of there.
I think I will. I forgot about that was on there. How about this? Is that better?
That's
There
much
it is.
better.
Okay.
Yep.
all right, let's get this. We got hot here? Okay. All right, we'll call the regular meeting of the Carmel-by-the-Sea Planning Commission to order for Wednesday, May 10th, 2023. Can we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Allen? Here. Commissioner Bolton?
Here.
Commissioner Delves? Commissioner Locke? And Chair LePage.
Here. So Commissioner Delves and Commissioner Locke are absent today. Okay, so the first item on our agenda are public appearances. Anyone from the public who would like to appear before the Planning Commission can do so at this time. These are, you can express opinions about any matters of municipal concern. These items are not on the agenda tonight, but they may receive discussion at a future time.
Hi, Karen Ferlito. It's been a long time since I've been on this side of the dais.
Yeah.
It's kind of like old homeschool. Actually, I just want to thank you all for all the service that you give to the city. I know it's not easy. I'm seeing it from both sides now, so I especially thank you and the staff for all that you do. Today I actually have a gift for you. And the gift is the second edition of the Monterey Pine Forest Watch book, which I was not one of the authors, but the authors were David Bates, Rita D'Alessio, Marianne Matthews, Corky, you may know her name, Nikki Nedeff, Lindy Smith, Joyce Stevens, and Judd Vanderveer. My part in this was I was a founding board member of the Monterey Pine Forest Watch, and I fed all these lovely people over the many, many months that they wrote this wonderful book. This is the second edition, as I said, and I just wanted to read you a little note that John Muir said, "Come to the woods, for here is rest. There is no repose like that of the green, deep woods." And, you know, we get to live in the woods here in Carmel. We're very blessed to be able to do that by the ocean in a forest. And some of the names that I read you are icons of the environmental movement in Carmel and Carmel Valley, and were very instrumental in helping preserve a great deal of the Monterey pine forest. So I've left copies for the other members, but this one for each of you.
Thank you so much, Karen.
I hope that
That's
you
very
enjoy
nice.
it, and
Yeah.
I hope that during your deliberations at various times you might refer to it, because we really do live in a beautiful treasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Another gentleman coming forward.
Chair LePage, council members, Michael McWalters, Scenic Road, 2 North of 11th. How are you? Good. Since Governor Newsom and Director Swanson, how are you? Good, good, thanks. Since Governor Newsom banned antenna cell towers from being located next to firehouses because the firemen were getting sick, I've learned that up to 30% of the population is affected by electromagnetic sensitivity. Electromagnetic sensitivity, EMS for short, is a condition where radio frequency radiation emitted from wireless antennas and smart meters makes people sick with headaches, cognitive impairments, disorientation, sleep disruption, fatigue, tinnitus, vertigo, nausea, skin rashes, behavioral problems, mood swings, anxiety, and depression. The population of our 1 square mile village is 3,220 residents per the 2020 census. If the 30% electromagnetic sensitivity number is correct, 966 of our neighbors are going to suffer these adverse health effects I listed if they have to live in close proximity to wireless antennas. 5G antennas, if they're allowed, looks like the following. They have to be spaced 250 feet apart in order to work, clear line of sight. On each street of the rectangle, I calculated 13 5G antennas per wireless vendor. So if there's 4 vendors, then that's 52 5G antennas on each street in the rectangle. That's 416 5G antennas in the entire golden rectangle. I want to protect the 966 of our neighbors from having to suffer the adverse health effects of having to live in close proximity to these radioactive emitting antennas. So what can we do about that? We can include the following in our ordinance. The first thing we can include is the general authority part of the Telecom Act of 96 and the 2005 Supreme Court decision in Rancho Palos Verde versus Abrams, which reaffirmed our authority and our control over wireless antenna placement. We also need to include the 2010 Ninth Circuit Court decision in Mobile PCS versus San Francisco, which defines significant gap in telecom service and the least intrusive means of filling that gap, which gives us the authority to require the wireless companies provide us with hard evidence proving they have a significant gap in their service. And lastly, the 2009 Ninth Circuit decision, and by the way, we're in the Ninth Circuit Court. We abide by their decisions. This was the Sprint PCS versus City of Palos Verdes, where the Ninth Circuit said the City of Palos Verdes can deny access to public rights of way on aesthetic grounds. So we need to include all of these decisions in the ordinance. It's my recommendation, because it gives us power and authority over the placement of cell towers, and it gives us control over our destiny and not handing it over to the FCC or to the wireless companies. But above all, we must protect our neighbors. There's 966 of them, possibly, who are going to suffer adverse health effects, and actually some of them are going to become disabled from the wireless antenna radio frequency radiation. And so what's the answer instead of the 5G? The answer is fiber optic, because it doesn't emit radiation.
Michael, your 3 minutes. Can you summarize quickly?
And I'm going to summarize by saying we want fiber optic because it's healthy, doesn't emit radiation, and it actually provides a better service than the 5G. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have somebody online, Cindy Lloyd. She'd like to make some comments under public comments. Cindy, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor LePage, members of the Planning Commission and city staff. I want to just dovetail on what Karen said in her initial statement. I appreciate all that you do. I know the work is hard, it takes a lot of time, and it's sometimes tedious. I just want you to know how much I appreciate you. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone else from the public that would? Neil, come on up.
Assuming I can get up. My name is Neil Cruz. It was brought to my attention that there is a statement in the design traditions: metal, plastic, and glass roofs are inappropriate in all neighborhoods. I believe that's in section 9.8 of the design guidelines. To my knowledge, we do have roofing materials that would get us through the fire concern. Tile roofing, slate roofing, Spanish mission tile. I talked to some roofers the other day. They say get all of it that you want. Asphalt, shingle tiles, wood shingle, if they are treated, of course, as you would know, Mike, and they would have to be, there's several, one or two different ways of still using wood shingles. The issue being insurance, whether people can get insurance, and they can in some cases and not in all cases, so that is an iffy situation. And then we also have fiberglass wood shingles, all of which would not be wood. And so I just wanted to bring this up, since it does say that in the design guidelines, metal, plastic, and glass roofs are inappropriate in all neighborhoods. Wouldn't the simplest thing to do when somebody brings in a design with a metal roof, just say, we can't accept that with a metal roof, why don't you go and put another roof on it and bring it back in, instead of it coming all the way into the Planning Commission? I know there's been a lot of discussion about this, the fire and all the other concerns with it, but then let's change the design guidelines. We need to have the design guidelines workable and usable. And my last comment is I just want to underline the gentleman that spoke before me. I have done some of the research that he told you about. It's absolutely true. My sister is one of those people who is electrosensitive. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Neil. Another gentleman? David, I believe?
Yes, good evening. I'm David O'Neill. And I just wanted to speak a little bit because I'm concerned about the Planning Commission's authority being taken away. We were told in the beginning that 349 units were just, it's sort of an exercise. We just need to discuss them and maybe come up with a way that it could be possible. But now we're in a situation where we actually do have to build them. And if we don't make sufficient progress, as they say, during this process, then they can unilaterally, at whatever time they don't think it's sufficient, they can come in and they can take over and they can control the planning department and sidestep the Planning Commission and the public. So I'm really concerned about that. And also, SB 423 has now decided to include the California coastal zones in this new development of laws. And so the City Council recently voted to join the California Cities for Local Control. And there are a lot of different cities that are coming together to try and find a way to come up with a ballot initiative that would retain the control in the Planning Commission and have public review. And also in their situation where they're not using the Planning Commission, all of the discretionary things will be bypassed, or could be. And so that means we could have, like, what kind of buildings, we wouldn't know, and that makes us all a little frightened. So we all care about Carmel. Obviously, you've been serving Carmel and making it a beautiful place for a long time, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. Okay, is there anyone else from the public that would like to address the Planning Commission on matters which are not on our agenda tonight? I don't see anybody in the audience.
Hello. Hi.
We got somebody online?
Hi, this is Tracy Manning.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just got on, so I don't know. I'm just listening for a minute.
Go ahead.
And say what? This is Tracy Manning. I live at the, I live to the north of this Bellasis.
Is this regarding something on our agenda?
How do you say it?
Ma'am, is this something that's on the public hearing this evening that you're commenting about?
Yeah, this is the number they told me to call.
Yeah, right now, these are just the public
maybe
comments.
I'm in the wrong
When we have
place.
the public hearings, then you can make your comments. The item right now is just public comments, which are
Fine.
not on our agenda this evening. So if you just hang tight, when we get the public hearings going, you'll have time to make your comments, okay?
That's more than fine with me.
All right, thank you. Okay, anybody else have any comments for items which are not on our agenda this evening? Okay, we will move on. Are there any announcements from staff? Any announcements from the commission or any announcements from the public? Okay. All right. We will move on to the consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and do not require discussion or independent actions, but members of the commission or the public may ask that any item be pulled for discussion. Otherwise, these items are usually passed in one motion. So we have 6 items on the consent agenda tonight. The first 5 items are the past minutes from the Planning Commission, just for adoption, and then we have the monthly permit activity report, which is always issued by the planning and building departments, so everybody has access to see what items are being approved. So is anyone from any of the commissioners want? Mr. Bolton, shaking your head. Anybody from the public have any questions about any of these items? Okay, seeing none, then I will make a motion that we adopt the 6 items on the consent agenda tonight in one motion.
I can second that.
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Bolton?
Yes.
Chair LePage?
Yes, motion is carried. Okay, we have an item of ordinary business, orders of business tonight. This is consider amending the Planning Commission rules procedure to convene regular meetings on site at the location of the first item on the tour inspection. So does staff want to make a report on that or make any comments?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. We're going to do a joint presentation here of the capital improvement plan. You all know me. My name's Brandon Swanson, but I'm going to let one of our new members of our team introduce himself here.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Javier Hernandez, and I'm a project manager with Public Works.
So we are very excited to have Javier on board. Bob's more excited than anybody because now he has somebody that he can delegate work to, which Bob is very good at. Love you, Bob. So we're going to go through this pretty quickly. We do this every year. This is something that's required by state law for the planning commission.
Excuse me,
Sure.
Brandon, are we gonna first consider the change to the amending the?
Oh, is that?
Yeah, that was the next item.
Is that the first item?
Yeah, that's the orders of business.
Oh my gosh, I totally.
If you want to really speed things up, I appreciate that.
Look at. My apologies, Javier and Bob and everybody.
Nice to meet you, Javier.
Clearly, I have no idea what's going on here.
Anyway, does staff going to make a?
Very brief now, yes. Different,
Okay.
totally, and staff's going to make a very different presentation. So this is just a quick item. So we have let me start over. So traditionally, the tours of inspection would convene here at the chambers. So the way that it worked pre-COVID was that the meetings would convene here. We would sit around the dais, the chair would convene the meeting, and then we would all leave and go. So we'd have to mobilize here, go to the tour of inspections, do the tour, and then come back here. One of the things the commission has been working on over the last couple of years is streamlining the meetings, because we're trying to get more and more projects across the finish line for consideration, at least through the commission. And one way to do that is to start the meetings out in the field. That was something that started during the pandemic because we were doing these meetings completely remotely. So we would convene the tour of inspection out in the field, and then everyone would retire to their respective offices or computers and have the meeting there. We found some efficiency in that. So this is really just a discussion with the Planning Commission, whether or not you would like to amend the existing rules of procedure. And just so you recall, the Planning Commission operates under a document called the Rules of Procedure. It's not codified in the zoning code. It is a document that is that lives on its own, and it can be modified by the Planning Commission at any time by a majority vote of the commission. The rules about the tour exist there. They don't speak very much to where the tour convenes, but we should make a couple of slight amendments there so that it's more clear. So what we're bringing in front of you is just asking for a motion or a vote or a consensus as to whether the Planning Commission would wish to formalize the practice that we've been doing basically the last 2 years of convening the meeting of the Planning Commission out in the field at the tour of inspection. So that would be the official start of the meeting. The chair would convene the meeting there, we would take roll call, and that would be the start of the Planning Commission. Because as we all know, those tour of inspections are open to the public. We do have people that join us for that, and it is noticed on the agenda. So really that's the item for tonight is, does the commission want to formalize the convening of the meeting out at the first item on the tour of inspection agenda? And that's my presentation, the correct presentation, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Are there any questions for Brandon about this? Okay, are there any members of the public that would like to comment on this change to the procedures for the Planning Commission? Okay, I don't see any. Okay, I'll bring back to the commissioners for discussion. Commissioner Bolton, did you raise your hand there?
I scratched my head, but that's close enough.
Oh, well, that's good enough for me.
Right, it did
Careful.
get raised, so yeah, I did raise my hand. So I have no problem with this.
You good with it? Okay.
Yeah, I'm
Commissioner
good.
Allen? Yeah, I think this makes sense.
Would you like me to make a motion?
Yeah, go ahead and make a motion.
So I would like to motion that we amend the Planning Commission rules of procedure to convene regular meetings on site at the location of the first item on the tour of inspection.
Second, please.
Mr. Bolton seconded that, so no more discussion. Can we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Bolton?
Yes.
Chair LePage?
Yes. Okay, the motion to modify the procedures is carried. And now we have the public hearings. The first item on the public hearings has been continued to a date uncertain, but we need to, because it is on the agenda, we do need to have a motion to confirm that, but we have to open it up to the public for any discussion about that. Is there? Pardon?
Just on the continuance.
Yeah, just on the continuing, not the item itself. Anybody have any comments from the public?
Can we ask what the item is? Can we ask what the item is?
You want to come up to the mic? So we
Just asking what is the item up for continuance?
This is DS2, I'm sorry, I should have identified that. Thank you for reminding me. This is design study, it's DS22-184. It's the Alhoff project, Alhoff. It's a consideration of a preliminary review of a substantial alteration of an existing single-family residence, and it's located at the northeast corner of Scenic Road and 12th Avenue, and it's in the single-family zoning district. So we're not discussing the project. All we're going to do is just going to make a motion to continue it to a date uncertain. Okay, I will go ahead and make that motion that we continue design study DS22-184 to a date uncertain.
I can second that.
Okay, can we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Bolton?
Yeah.
Chair LePage?
Yes. Okay, the motion to continue is carried. Okay, the next item is the review of the fiscal year budget for 2021, 2022, 2022, 2023, and 2023 and 2024. It's a capital improvement plan.
Mr. Chair,
consistency with the general plan.
Thank you. This is the one that I tried to jump in earlier, but staff is actually requesting, we have an item number 13 on the agenda tonight, DS22-191 Nute. We are going to need to continue that one because we will not have a quorum for that project because Commissioner Allen is recused from that one. So we would request you dispose with that continuance first. So if anyone wants to leave, they can.
Right. Okay. So yes. So we item number 13, DS22191, the Nute project has to be continued also because we don't have a quorum. So is there anyone from the public has any comments about that? The continuation. So only regarding the continuation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you very much, and I appreciate your time today. Given the situation with the quorum, we're respectfully requesting a special hearing be scheduled in lieu of waiting an additional month so that we could proceed with our project as planned. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anyone else from the public that wants to make any comments regarding the continuation? Okay, seeing none. Brandon, do you want to make any comments regarding the special meeting request?
I think we wouldn't be able to say yes or no to that right now. The decision of whether or not to convene a special meeting is at the discretion of the chair, but we would have to confirm with all commissioners to make sure that they were available. So we wouldn't be able to do that tonight because 2 of them are out of the country, basically. So we can, you and I can connect afterwards and see if we can,
Okay,
do that or not.
we'll discuss this after the meeting,
Mhm.
and then staff will contact you whether
Yeah,
or not that's
we'll get in touch with you.
whether that's something we
Yep.
can
Mhm.
work out or not. Kind of depends about who's available. Unfortunately, that's what happened tonight. We just had a couple of commissioners that weren't here, and one who has to recuse himself. So, okay, I'm going to make a motion that we continue design study DS22-191. You want to second that? Oh, you can't second that, right?
No, you can't.
You can't second that.
I can second that, though.
What happened to, he's, okay. It's been seconded by Commissioner Bolton. All right, so roll call, please.
Do I respond or
No?
Okay.
No, just the 2 of us.
Commissioner Allen, Commissioner Bolton,
Yes.
and Chair LePage.
Yes. Okay, the motion is carried. All right, now we will get to the review of the capital improvements budget.
Javier, are you ready yet?
Good evening. Again, my name is Javier Hernandez, project manager with Public Works. I'm glad to meet you all. As Brandon was stating, this is really an opportunity to bring the projects from fiscal year 2021 up to now to you guys, just to acknowledgement.
So I'll go through really quickly. So this is an exercise we've all been through before. It's legally required by the state of California for the city's planning commission to review the capital improvement program and ensure that it is consistent with our general plan. In simple terms, that means why would we do a project in the city that isn't consistent with our general plan? So just a couple of dates where we're at in this process. April and May, we met with council, presented the draft CIP program. Got thumbs up on that. We're here today with you to do that consistency review. May 16th, we're going to have a council workshop on the budget, and then June 6th will be the adoption hearing, and of course the budget goes into effect July 1. So this is the code, government code that I referenced earlier. Planning commissions must review the draft CIP for general plan consistency. Again, this consistency review has nothing to do with whether or not projects are good or bad. We're not talking about merits of the projects, if we think one thing or the other. It's just whether or not the project is consistent with the general plan. So this year we have 33 CIP projects in total. As always, we break it across 4 categories, which you can see on the screen here. We are recommending that all the projects are consistent. So Javier and I are going to do a little tag team. I don't know why it's not letting me open that file. I did have it linked, but give me just 1 second, and I will get to it this way. All right, only took a moment. All right. So we're just going to go through really quickly. Javier is going to tell you about the projects. Again, not in any great detail because we're not here to talk about great detail, but just quickly what they are. And then I'll talk about the CEQA action and the general plan consistency. So Javier, we'll just go page by page. Go ahead and fire away.
So this first page really identifies projects that are carryovers from previous years. So as you can see, all these projects should look familiar to you. The first one on here is the police building renovation. This one's really to continue with the condition assessments to evaluate the need for repairs or maybe full reconstruction of the police department, and possibly even the adjacent building, which is the Public Works building. Another project that's kind of highlighted on here is the electrical panel upgrades, which is also affects buildings like City Hall, Fire, Sunset Center, and the Vista Lobos. And with that project, you also get possible EV stations for some fleet vehicles. And I guess the third one that I want to highlight on here is the Harrison Memorial Library renovations, and that one, it's really part of the library master plan, and it's just to continue analyzing and move into construction of some of these upgrades.
That's great. Thanks, Javier. And as he mentioned, these are all carryover projects. So you've seen all these before. Our general plan consistency determinations and CEQA actions have not changed. You can see they're all consistent, in our opinion, with those specific general plan policies that we've called out on the side. The next page here.
So on the next page here, we still continue with facilities and buildings. And here we start getting into some of the newer projects that are being proposed for the next fiscal year, which is 2023, 2024. A couple of the projects to highlight on here is, which is quite a few, is the Sunset Center. One of them being the retaining wall repairs. There's a wall that needs significant repair out at the Sunset Center, and that's one of the projects that's highlighted on here. Another one that I've chosen to highlight is some boiler replacements. So projects can be extensive, and they can also be really simple and practical repairs to facilities. You want to speak on those a little bit, Brandon, or?
No, you go ahead and keep going unless
Okay.
you want to highlight some more.
No, Sunset Center, the Carpenter Hall Theater. That's also just a replacement. Sunset Center North electrical panel replacement. So that panel is believed to be undersized, and so there's studies that go along with that panel and possible future improvements to it as well.
That's great. And so just like before, we found that all of the CEQA actions are either categorically exempt or not a project, and that every one of these for our facilities and services is consistent with our general plan. You can see we've got findings in there such as historic preservation and protection of historic resources, which relates to things like the Sunset Center, and having adequate public service and maintenance for public protection. So these 7 through 14, we do recommend finding consistent.
So as we get to this next sheet, we get into projects that are equipment and IT equipment and vehicles. So the important ones to highlight here as you get to equipment and vehicles is really the replacement. There's a couple carryovers there, which is the street sweeper and the ambulance and equipment. But then we also have two new vehicles, or 3 new vehicles that are that we're looking at purchasing, which is a couple forestry trucks and then a PD admin vehicle as well.
And we're in the same place, and we're going to play the broken record game here. These are all consistent with our general plan, in our opinion. I think it's really cool to highlight the fact that this is an electric street sweeper. The city continues to go down the road of electrification. In community planning and building, we have our 2, as we affectionately call them, clown cars, but they're little electric residential vehicles. We're getting some electric bicycles. Public Works is getting electric vehicles. So this is the city rising to their climate action and adaptation plan. Again, those are things that make projects like these consistent, is that we have plans that lay out we should be doing things like this. So the CIP is really a way that we implement those plans that we lay out. So again, all of these are consistent with our general plan policies. We've either got categorically exempt projects or things that are not projects under CEQA.
Would you like us to save questions till the end or go
Yes,
or
please.
ask? Okay.
Yes, please. Thank you.
We're almost there, though. So this next sheet highlights projects that are natural resources. So a couple projects that are highlighted on here, which are kind of are a little more sensitive. They're both carryovers, but they're at the Mission Trail Nature Preserve. One of them being the well tank removal and removal of the pump house as well. That project's actually going out to bid this week, and it's moving into the construction phase. Another one that's on here is the 3-stream stability project. Phase 1 was design, and phase 2 is construction. So that project is still going through the permitting process, but is moving into the construction phase here shortly.
Thanks. And once again, you'll see we're recommending consistency, although you're going to start seeing some different findings now because we're dealing with natural resources. You're going to see things like the protection and enhancement of natural beauty and resources, You're also going to see in the CEQA categories that we're looking at some of these because of where they are in environmentally sensitive habitats, doing some more CEQA work like initial studies, and possibly having some mitigation measures included with those. But once again, we think as potentially conditioned, these projects are all consistent with our general plan.
This next sheet highlights, again, another project that's a natural resource project, which is a shoreline infrastructure repairs. That's kind of follows a previous project that we probably should have highlighted. But this is actual repairs to the shorelines, which include the seawalls, revetments, and beach access stairs. This work is still in the design phases, so it's approaching design phases. It's not a construction at this point. Another one, as we get into physical structures, is down at the towards the end is a paving project. So now we're getting more into the infrastructure and road type projects. And this one's a project that's been that was approved back in 2020, 2021. And it's the resurfacing and repaving of a couple roads and some sidewalk work as well.
And once again, we're recommending these are all consistent. Shouldn't be a surprise by this point. You'll see again our categorically exempt projects, although we still have one that we're expecting is going to require an additional study or at least an addendum to an existing environmental document.
And lastly here is, again, we continue with the physical structures, which is mainly road projects, but we have one here which is for the storm drain master plan update. That's the first one on here, and so in that one we will be moving into a design and possible future construction of some of these infrastructure. Another one to highlight down a little further is just the continuation of our annual paving project. So again, just like the previous paving project, these are improvements to existing roads and facilities that are currently existing.
Thanks. And then for our last determination, we are recommending again that these are all consistent with the general plan. And just so people understand, that it sounds like we're going through this really quickly, but we do spend quite a bit of time analyzing these projects at the staff level for you. The findings on the right are pulled directly out of the general plan, and they are unique to each one. I mean, you can see there for the item number 30, that has a finding about minimization of the generation of hazardous waste, which relates specifically to drainage system repairs. So we do take this really seriously. We try to move through it pretty quickly because it can be extremely dry. But the technical work has been done up front, and we have all the necessary references on the right there for you with the general plan consistency. And with that, we're happy to take questions now at this point from the commission.
Go ahead, Commissioner Allen.
So a couple things. So line 14 and line 21 look the same. Is there a difference between the two?
So these are two separate IT-related projects. One is public facilities and service, and one is under city IT equipment and vehicles. So either perhaps Bob can speak to that. It could be, we actually have our IT director downstairs running this meeting for us, but I'm going to hazard a guess that it's about the location and the type of equipment that's being purchased. So some of this could be infrastructure for cooling and keeping servers safe, and some of it could be actually purchasing technical server equipment, which is why you might find it falling under two different categories. One falls under facilities and buildings, and one actually falls under IT equipment.
Right.
So it could be infrastructure improvements for IT equipment, and one would be the actual equipment itself. So I'm going to look to the Director of Public Works. He's giving me the thumbs up. I pulled it off. Okay, thanks.
And then just as a side note, equipment is spelled wrong. But
nope. Duly noted. Thank you.
No worries. And then a couple other things. So in number 27, I thought the city was doing the medians and not Carmel Cares.
We'll let our Public Works Director sashay his way up here to the microphone.
Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Commission. Yeah, thank you for the question. We put it on here when we presented the City Council. Here's all the potential projects, city funded and public, privately funded. Mm-hmm. So Carmel Cares, as you know, is a is a volunteer organization it's a recognized city organization. And they do various projects. They do a lot of maintenance, predominantly maintenance.
Gotcha.
But they also do projects that we would, if the city were to implement them, would be city projects. So on the side of caution, let's put it on the list, review it for general plan consistency, make sure everyone's kosher with it. What we have planned, at the Forest Theater, they did the extensive landscape renovation, which was approved by the Forest and Beach Commission, and that came out great.
Yeah,
If you've
it's
been out there.
beautiful.
And this next phase is to do an ADA access to an ADA picnic table area and potentially other picnic tables. So it's a tentative project. It hasn't been gone through the process yet, but we're assuming that's a project for next fiscal year. Same thing with the Ocean Avenue Median Island landscaping. That is scheduled to go to the Forest and Beach Commission to look at options at the June meeting. So that could be a project. There's a potential that would come back before the Planning Commission, but we're not there yet.
Gotcha. Okay. And then I was under the understanding that this street sweeper was already purchased. Is that?
I got that one too. Javier's new, yeah. Yes, it was actually in the current fiscal year budget. It went to council in July for a purchase. We did issue a purchase order. It's been delayed.
Oh, okay.
So it's about 3 to 4 months behind schedule. It's being manufactured overseas, and we told them to get it here by June 30th. And we're not sure how they're going to fly a big street sweeper. I think it's in either Germany or Switzerland or somewhere to get it here by June 30th. But that's the plan. On the side of caution, maybe it will roll into next fiscal year. Let's put it on the list.
Why can't they drive it, Bob?
It would drown quickly in the ocean.
Just checking.
Yeah.
Just checking.
And then my last one, sorry. So when reviewing the general plan, it calls out parking. And I didn't see anything here with the current proposed project around parking. Is that going to?
I can take that one. You mean like the parking and congested traffic program?
Yes.
So that's not a capital improvement project. So capital improvement projects are improvements typically to the infrastructure or city-owned buildings or equipment. So that's sort of on a separate track. Think of that more like a planning project. When that project comes through for review, that's like when you guys do your analysis of a project against the zoning code and the general plan, that project, whatever form it takes, will ultimately need to be entitled and have its analysis against the general plan. But it doesn't fall under the CIP because it's not a thing necessarily. That's a better way to think of it. It's not a thing that we're buying or building or installing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So with that, we're done unless the other commissioners have any questions.
Commissioner Bolton, did you have any questions?
No, it's nice and impressive to see it in this matrix. It was helpful because I could review it before the meeting and just kind of take a look. It was nice. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Javier.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, is there, I'll open up for public comments. Anyone from the public would like to make a comment regarding the consistency with the general plan with the capital improvements project? Okay, nobody here in the chamber. Anybody online? I don't see any hands going up. So I will close the public comments, bring it back to the commissioners. Any comments? Mr. Bolton, Commissioner Allen, I think you had your questions answered.
I have my questions answered. Everything seems consistent.
Commissioner Bolton, did anything else you want to?
I used my question period for a comment.
Okay. All right, I don't have any questions. I'm glad the city is in a position to address a lot of these issues. It's great that we have the funds to take care of these things. And also, I like to see the fact that you have some forward thinking on a lot of these projects. That's really important too. So, okay. In that case, I will make a motion that we accept the capital improvements as presented and their consistency with the general plan.
I can second that.
Okay, no further discussion. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Bolton?
Yes.
Chair LePage?
Yes. Okay, the motion is carried. All right, that brings us back to item number 10 on the public hearings this evening. This is a design study. It's DS 22279. This is the Garren project. This is consideration of a concept design study for the demolition of an existing 1,195 square foot, one-story, single-family residence with a 517 square foot attached garage and construction of a new two-story, approximately 2,370 square foot residence with an approximately 440 square foot attached garage. It's on Pine Ridge Way in the R1 district. We have the staff report, please.
Thank you, Chair. So the subject site is an 8,307 square foot lot currently developed with a 1,712 square foot one-story single-family residence. The applicant is proposing to demolish the existing home and construct a new 2,810 square foot residence consisting of a approximately 1,500 square foot ground floor with a 835 square foot upper floor with a 440 square foot attached garage. The project also includes an 800 square foot attached two-story ADU. That's been highlighted in the elevations in red. However, as you know, reviewing a number of projects with the ADUs should not be considered as part of the application. We will only be considering the single-family residence. And then additional project components include landscaping and site coverage. So prior to the resignation of the previous city forester, the trees were unable to be evaluated for their significance. However, according to the site survey, there are 3 oaks on site as well as 1 unclassified tree. The tree canopy takes up a substantial portion of the site. The forester was able to review the plans and provided comments on the tree protection measures, which the applicant did adequately address in their plans. And then, as you know, we have our standard tree protection conditions of approval that are included at the final detail stage. In respect to privacy and views, staff did not identify either. For the proposed project, the story poles had been installed on site for quite some time prior to being scheduled for the hearing. These are the approximate locations of the windows of the second floor. The windows facing, I believe this is the north, are approximately 24 feet from the property line, and as you can see from the floor plan, those windows are in a closet and a bathroom. This window that's skewed off to the side is in an office, and then there are 2 windows here located in an office as well. These windows are set back 15 feet from the property line with an additional 14 feet to the adjacent single-family residence. And then the windows facing south, that's approximately 50 feet from that property line. And then we have no windows facing west for the single-family residence. In respect to mass and bulk and building and roof form, the proposed residence does relate to the mass and bulk of homes nearby. The site plan here, the red is the lower building form, and then the blues highlighting the upper building form. So the new upper floor is set back away from the lower floor, which helps with the transition between the adjacent one-story buildings to the new upper floor. The new second story is also set back away from the street as encouraged by the design guidelines. And then the roof is comprised primarily of gabled roof forms pitched at 5 and 12 with a shed roof form at the front of the building, specifically designed to offset the oak grove at the front of the property, which is encouraged by the design guidelines as well. So again, this is just a true concept hearing. We don't have much information ready for final details review. So staff will be working with the applicant to gain much more information regarding the finished details. But what we do know is that wood windows and doors are proposed. The ground floor will be stucco with a board and batten second floor. The roof is proposed to be comp shingle. A new paver driveway will be installed, as well as new fencing around the site. And then draft condition of approval number 2 basically says in summary that the applicant will work with staff to complete the outstanding items on the submittal checklist required for final details hearing. And with that, staff is recommending the Planning Commission adopt the resolution accepting a concept design study as outlined on the slide. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions for staff from the commissioners? Commissioner Bolton, any questions?
No.
None? Did he answer?
Yeah, no, thank you. I
Okay.
don't ever
Thank you,
know when you can
Commissioner
hear me and when you can't.
Yeah, I don't have any questions either. Thank you, Evan, for your presentation. Okay, are there any members of the public that would like to come forward? The applicant or the applicant's architect? Come forward. Thank you.
Unless you guys have any questions for me, I'm good.
It's just concept, but the staff presented your finished materials as stucco on the bottom and
Exterior plaster.
board and bat on the top. With
Correct.
Okay, and wood windows and doors and a composition shingle roof. That's what you're proposing.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any questions for the architect designer?
And
thank you.
Just one question I have for Evan is this going to require another hearing, or are we just drawing up the final plans now?
Was this just concept? This is concept.
Concept.
You have there's a condition for the things that you need to complete the project after this particular heating.
Like eve details and such. Is that what we're talking about?
It's the finished details, so
Yeah.
that would include
window details.
Yes, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong staff report. Give me just 1 second.
But we would be able to go ahead, if we're approved tonight, we can go ahead and draw up technical drawings at this point, right?
Yes.
That's
yes.
great.
That would be a safe assumption because nothing should be changing with the building massing. What we'd be interested in is things like the building color, what the pavers are going to be looking like, the actual detail of the window, the actual thickness of the composition shingles. There's a requirement for a landscape plan.
I'm sure you'll send me a list.
Yes.
All right, thank you guys.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there anyone else from the public that would like to address the Planning Commission regarding this application? Okay, I don't see anybody in the audience. Anybody online raising their hand? I can't see the whole. I can't see everybody that's online. You see anybody? Yeah, I don't see anybody there either. So, okay, I'm going to close the public comments, open it up to the commission for their comments. Commissioner Allen, your comments, please.
Sure. There isn't a whole lot of information. There doesn't seem to be any concerns from neighbors. So it sounds like the proposal looks good.
Okay. Commissioner Bolton?
Yeah, I agree. It looks like it's meeting our requirements. I'm pleased that the ADU, it's a connected ADU, looks like it would be quite difficult to convert to a whole house. So I'm concerned with ADUs always being connected. Someone might just convert that or open a wall. And this one, if they open walls, they wouldn't be convenient. So I'm happy about that. So that's my only comment.
Okay. I don't really have much to add. It's kind of refreshing to see some hand-drawn plans. You don't see that too often these days. It's nice to see that that individual style that you see in those old hand-drawn plans. But yeah, I think staff has done a good job of identifying all the issues and explaining the findings for their support, and staff will work with the applicant to help them fill out the rest of this. So we have a resolution with draft conditions. They need to do a volume study, and then the finished details is really the only draft conditions. So with that said, would one of the commissioners like to make a motion?
Sure, I can make a motion. I move that we approve DS 279 Garren concept design study with the regular and special conditions as they are.
And then I'll second that.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded to accept the resolution as presented by staff. Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Bolton?
Yes.
Chair LePage?
Yes. Okay, the motion is carried to approve concept. Thank you.
Before we go any further, is there something different with the sound tonight on the Zoom? It seems like it's
Yeah, I'm really having trouble hearing Commissioner Bolton.
It's pretty quiet, I know. Let Marnie get started. I'm going to run downstairs and see what we can do.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that'd be great, because of course, my hearing's not too good anyhow. So.
Did I yell?
Too many rock concerts. Okay. So the next item on the public hearings tonight is item number 11. This is a design study, but it is concept and final design. So this is DS 22-395. This is the McLeod project, consideration of concept, final, and development permit for additions totaling 301 square feet and other exterior modifications to a previously approved but yet to be constructed 1,551 square foot, two-story residence, inclusive of detached garage in the front yard setback, and associated permits at Casanova and 9th, northwest of Ocean. We have staff report. Marnie, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So the project before you this afternoon is part of a larger development that we previously referred to as Pine Trees. It is a series of 4 lots that had been under single ownership since the 1920s. It sold around 2019, and the new owner
Marnie,
has...
I'm not getting your screen on Zoom. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Thank you.
I mean, I have a corner of it because I have the chamber view. Yeah.
Can you see it now?
No.
Not yet. Not yet.
Now you got it. Thank you.
There it is. It's up there now, Mark. That looks good. Thank you.
Okay, so the new owner purchased the 4 lots, reconfigured them into 3 building sites. And the one you're looking at this afternoon is Lot 3. So new homes have been approved on all 3 lots, and lots 1 and 2 are well under construction at this point. Lot 3 is a little over 4,200 square feet in size. Again, it's been approved for a 2-story residence and also a detached garage in the front yard setback. So unfortunately, a tree that the home had originally been designed around died of natural causes. And so the owner's taken the opportunity to reevaluate the floor plan layout and make it a little bit more, flow a little bit more better for their needs. So they are proposing additions that total about 300 square feet. There are additions at the main level as well as the lower level. So starting at the main level, the addition is 142 square feet. It's on the rear of the residence. This includes a reconfiguration of the kitchen, dining, and living room. So the graphic on the bottom is the previously approved floor plan layout, and then the graphic on the top is the proposed, and that green color shows the area of the addition. At the lower level, similar on the back of the house, there's an addition proposed at the living room, 159 square feet. This also includes a minor expansion of the bedroom and laundry room, again identified with that green color. So this is a comparison of the front elevation, so what you would see from Casanova. On the left is the previously approved design, and the red outline shows the proposed changes. As you can see, they are pretty minimal. The approved design had 0 eaves. The new design has modest eaves, and then also the roof pitch has been flattened out just slightly. You can also see some minor window configuration changes and a more human-scaled front entry door. And these are some 3D renderings. The one on the right, the architect actually produced a model for this development. So what you see on the right is a model of Lot 3 as viewed from the street. And then on the left is an updated a rendering of what that front entry looks like. And then the north elevation is the other portion that where you would see the most substantial change. So again, on the left, approved design with the red outline showing the proposed, and then on the right, it's the reverse, the green showing where the 2-story addition is at the rear of the house. Again, some minor window reconfigurations, and then also a modified roof form. And I have a slide, I'll show you that in just a moment. So again, a comparison of the 3D rendering versus the original model. So you can kind of see the differences with the proposed addition. So with respect to the modified roof form, again, original approved design on the left, proposed design on the right. The original design was a sort of a cross gable configuration. It had a 5 and 12 pitch, again, no eaves, and a standing seam metal roof. What the applicant is proposing is just a slightly flatter pitch at 4.5 and 12, some modest eaves, and a composition slate. This is a comparison of the exterior colors, materials, and finishes. So originally vertical cedar siding and slate gray. They are proposing to keep the vertical siding, but use a different type, and I'm going to let the architect go into detail on that if you'd like. Originally, paint grade windows, proposed to have mahogany wood windows, and then the dark gray fascia gutters, guardrail. There's no change there. So these are some updated 3D renderings that show the addition. These are views from the back of the house. So this is not what you would see from the street, but kind of gives you those different perspectives of that addition. And then with respect to skylights, the original project did have one skylight in the walk-in closet, as well as a tempered glass roof and the bathroom. Both were on the south side of the home. The applicant is proposing to eliminate those and instead 2 new skylights. And you can see the size there. You would not be able to see these from the street, and they would be equipped with blackout shades. So with that, staff is recommending that you adopt a resolution to approve a combined concept and final design study. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions from the commissioner?
Marnie, I've got one question.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Commissioner Bolton.
Go ahead, Commissioner Bolton.
Did the deck change at all? Do you know if the rear deck changed in any way in the new design? It didn't seem like it did.
I think there's a minor change to the deck, but I think I'll let the architect speak to that.
That's fine. Thanks.
Commissioner Allen, you had a question?
Yeah, Marnie, I just had a question about the skylights. They, size-wise, is that something that we've seen before, or is that unique to, because it seems like a pretty large skylight?
So it is a pretty long, narrow skylight. I wouldn't say we see these a lot, but the guidelines talk about skylights being appropriate to the task. So the one on the north side is in the kitchen. The one on the south side is in a bathroom. So you could certainly kind of evaluate those areas, and if you feel like it's too big, you could ask the applicant to reduce those in size.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't have any questions for you, staff. Thank you very much for your presentation. Okay, would the applicant's designer architect like to come forward? Mr. Hood, good to see you.
Good afternoon. Thomas Hood, architect for Stewart McLeod. This is a treat to come back here. We just passed year 7 working on this project with the Short family. So we're 4 years working with Stewart, who is, all I can say is an A-list client with very discerning taste, infinite patience, a healthy budget, and a great attitude. It's a real treat to come back before you today. As Marnie has summarized, the changes that we're proposing really came about as a result of the loss of the tree in the rear yard. And I think what's most important is that we wanted to, while increasing the square footage of the building, is to minimize the mass of the building as seen from the public right away. Essentially, there is no change from the street. And as the project was originally conceived, is that everything along the Casanova Street side is scaled to all the downhill side properties on that block. It's all one story. And they all read that way. So where we were able to gain additional square footage, it goes to a 2-story element, but it's on the back of the building, not visible from the street, and not imposing on sunlight, privacy, or views to our neighbor to the north. So we worked out that. The other thing is, I want to mention is that the material changes that we want to make are really a result of a couple of things. One is changing from the cedar siding that we originally had specified. We've watched performance of that particular product on other projects, and we have some concerns about potential delamination, so we eliminated it. And what I was looking for was a product that would be low maintenance, in a sense minimize the presence of the building in terms of color, and tie into the natural characteristics of all these oak trees. So what I didn't get the chance to show you on site is our revised sample board. At the top, it's a Shishugibon technique of charring cedar. So it's a solid piece of cedar board coming out of Washington. But with this particular one, this sample represents a pretty good identification of color. It pulls out this really beautiful reddish brown color. We are there pairing that with mahogany windows instead of metal clad windows, which would be gorgeous. This is our accent or minor trim color for guardrails. And we went away from the standing metal seam. The original design had all the buildings in standing metal seam. We thought, well, how can we differentiate this building from the other two more? So we're going to use a Da Vinci slate product. This is called Canyon, and it has that variation that shows up in both the siding and the mahogany windows. And we're really excited about this. We're presently completing a building on Monteverde Street with this same material, and it is stunning. And we don't have to paint it. It's a low-maintenance product called Pika Pika. The last thing I'd like to just say is that we did speak with Mr. McDonald, the neighbor to the north, and he enthusiastically said he loves the design. It doesn't impact his sunlight, privacy, or views. We will be working with him on enhanced landscaping along the property line. He's already going to be proposing large plant material, and we'll be looking at that. So we're in good graces with our next door neighbor. That's all I have, if you have any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Hood? I just had one question about the windows, just curious. Oh, did you? All right.
The question I asked
Are
Marnie,
you
I
going to do
guess, is
something to
really for-
mahogany to? Does it come with a natural preservative? Is it impregnated or?
No, it's. I've done this before. I mean, we're going to put a clear Cabot sealer on it. We're working on a restoration now. We're going to be using the same product on a Mark Mills house that's all natural redwood. It eventually will be a maintenance issue, but we introduced small eaves on the roof to better protect the windows. But we're looking at probably doing 3 coats of a Cabot clear sealer. I did a building up in Larkspur with the same technique, and it held up. It held up as well as a good paint job. So eventually there will be some maintenance issues.
I was just curious.
I did see one thing in the staff report that I just wanted to clarify. We would like to propose that the garage door that you saw in the renderings, actually the garage door would be clad in mahogany as well instead of painted a dark color.
And that wasn't on the original request?
It wasn't on the original. It only shows up in the renderings. In the staff text it says the garage door would be painted a black and gray, which to me kind of puts a mean face towards the street. I think the mahogany will kind of pull the whole thing together. The question about the decks, there was no change of the deck square footage or design, just the means of how it's supported underneath.
And
Thank you.
Commissioner Allen, you had a question?
No, Commissioner Bolton.
Oh, Commissioner Bolton, you had a question?
No, Thomas just answered it just now.
About the deck?
About the decks. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
May I add one more comment?
Sure.
There was you mentioned a moment ago about skylight size. Right before you came by the site, I've been on the phone with our structural engineer, and we will be reducing the size of the skylight that faces north towards the McDonald property. We'll do that for structural reasons. The other thing, what we found is, as opposed to doing big square skylights on a number of projects, we're trying to make them narrower and narrower so that they have focused light, usually washing off walls. And it's a very effective technique for not providing glare inside the building. And some of the skylights we're doing are only 19 inches wide, but they provide the same dispersal of light without as big a box on the roof. It seems to be working pretty well.
Okay, thank you. Did
Thomas,
you have
could
a comment?
I ask, I see some folks in the audience craning their neck for your sample board. Would you mind just putting it on a table and let folks take a look at it if they'd like to? Just somewhere out in the public there so folks can see it if they'd like to. Thank you. If anyone wants to see it, feel free to come up and take a look at it. This is,
Or if,
you know,
if you'd
it's
like
not
to
super
see
formal.
a house with the siding on it, I'll gladly arrange a tour. Anything
Okay.
else? Good.
Thank you. Thank you, Thomas. Okay, are there any members of the public that would like to comment on this project?
Good evening, David O'Neill again. I met with a number of residents and we just had a couple of comments. You know, in the design guidelines, it says that standard dimension, doorways that were of standard dimension that fit the human form and scale, tradition should be continued, and grand entry oversized door, yada, 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 discouraged. I like the front door. I think it's really cool, but it is oversized. So I just thought I'd bring that out to your attention. Some people were concerned about that. And it also says in the design guidelines that divided light windows are encouraged. And I see that they're kind of thinking about doing that in the ADU. So if they might consider doing that in the rest of the house, there's a large number of residents who would prefer that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public that would like to address the Planning Commission regarding this application? Okay, I don't see anybody online with their hand up. So I'm going to close the public comments, bring it back to the commission for their comments. I just want to ask staff a real quick question. The front door has been made smaller. That was part of your presentation, right?
It does appear smaller. I do not have the door schedule though in front of me to confirm that. So I will
Maybe
try to...
I can ask. Thomas, can you come up and just confirm what size the front door is, just so the commissioners and the audience understands what's being proposed?
Yeah, the original door, we were proposing it to be 9 feet tall, go all the way up to the ceiling. Our hallway is barely 5 feet wide. So what we're proposing is just an offset pivot door, approximately 4 feet wide. Right now we're looking at a design that would lower the height from 8 feet, or from 9 feet down to 8 feet. So it would be generally consistent with normal sized doors. And it is set back about 60 feet from the property line. So we don't
So
see it being
you're proposing 4 feet by 8 feet?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, that answers that question. Commissioner Allen, you'd like to begin your comments?
Sure. You know, I love to see projects come before us that are so creative and use such high quality materials. Fantastic, beautiful, high quality materials. There's no opposition from neighbors, and this design for me looks like a fantastic asset within that neighborhood. So I think this is a fantastic project.
Okay, just before we continue discussion, I just want to get something clarified from staff. Now, the architect's proposing to change the garage door to the mahogany. So that's something we can just deal with? The planning commission can deal with this now, or do that need to be public noticed or anything?
No.
Okay, all right, I just wanted to confirm that. Do you have any comments about that, Commissioner Allen?
I like the concept of changing it to the wood.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Bolton, your comments?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Better, whatever they did.
Great. Well, we'll give it a try. I appreciate the change of the materials. I think they're improvements. I don't have a problem with the garage door. And I support the overall changes. I don't have any issue with this since we didn't have any comments that are negative from the neighbors. I have nothing else to add.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Bolton. Yeah, I think obviously this is a very high quality project, a lot of sensitivity design. I appreciate that the architects can be changing the roof design, a lot of standing seam, metal roofs right in a row there. I think this is it's better to have some differentiation along that project. So other than that, I don't have any comments. I'm okay with the mahogany on the garage door. I think it makes a very nice contrast to the gray of the kind of sort of the gray black brush look of the siding. So that's it's a very nice presentation of materials. So having said that, the resolution as presented by staff really only has 3 special conditions. One of them is just the general acceptance of the conditions of approval. The other is, I guess at one point there were copper gutters and downspouts being requested. Those are not permitted by the special condition number 28. And the other is 29, which is the construction management plan. So it's pretty straightforward. So having said that, I'm just going to go ahead and make a motion that we accept the resolution as presented by staff unless any of the planning commissioners want some additional conditions added. And maybe we should make a note that the commission is in favor of the change of material to the garage door to mahogany.
Yeah, I can second that.
Okay, motion's made and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Bolton?
Yes.
Chair LePage?
Yes. Okay, the motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, the next item on the public hearings tonight is item number 12. This is a design study. It's DS 23-022. It's the Bellasis project. It's consideration of a concept design study for a 710 square foot addition to an existing one-story single-family residence, including a new 509 square foot second story located 4th Avenue, 2 northeast of Lobos Street in the R1 district. Now, staff report, please.
Thank you, Chair. So the subject site is a 7,392 square foot lot currently developed with a 1,825 square foot residence. The applicant is proposing a small addition to the ground floor, approximately 200 square feet. as well as a new 500 square foot second story addition. There are currently 5 trees on site, 4 of which are classified as significant. While they are classified as significant, the forester did not identify their species, except for one was identified as a liquid amber. And then there's also one moderately significant tree. There is a condition of approval, or a draft condition of approval included to meet the recommended tree density for the site, which is a total of 5 upper canopy and 4 lower canopy trees. In respect to privacy and views, prior to writing the staff report, staff did have some communication with the neighbor to the north and did conduct a site visit. The neighbor to the north, if you can see my cursor is showing up on the screen. It's this property right here. Staff did conduct a site visit and included some photos, which are on the next slide, and did request a follow-up letter asking them to express their concerns. However, correspondence was not received until just shortly before the hearing, so there was no evaluation in the staff report. However, these are the photos that were taken at the site visit. I believe they are on the call, and you have also been provided with the correspondence that was just received. However, in staff's opinion, the siting of the subject windows does not impact any privacy. As you can see from the addition over here, there are 3 windows proposed to be located in the bathroom, 1 above a bathroom tub, 1 window in between a sink, and 1 window above a toilet. Just based on the programming of the space, as well as the setback from the property line, these windows likely won't be impactful. And then there's an additional window right here in this bedroom, which is even further set back from the property line. So again, based off the programming and the setback to the property line, staff does not anticipate these windows will be cause any impact to privacy. And then staff did not have any communication with the eastern neighbor. However, again, shortly before the hearing, we did receive a letter that has been provided to the commission stating that they also have privacy and view concerns. They did provide a photograph which has been included on the screen. Staff believes the picture is taken from this window right here, just based on some context clues. Like this little windowsill right here, you can see a sill here, which leads me to believe that this is the sill here. They've expressed concerns about a loss of an ocean view, and then also concerns about privacy impacts to their living room. However, again, this was received just shortly before the hearing, so there was no analysis in the staff report. However, if we look at the windows really quickly, we do have a window again in the bathroom, and then 2 windows in this office, and then a staircase window. And then again, just based off the programming and location of the windows, they overlook a large driveway area, so staff does not believe that these windows will cause any privacy impacts. In respect to mass and bulk and building and roof form, the addition is being built off the existing building foundation. The addition in the front really doesn't impact any of the building's roof form or building or roof form. And then the new second story addition is set back away from the street and is located adjacent to the larger building and away from the smaller 1-story residence. And then the roof forms are moderately pitched. I apologize, I can't read the pitch, but they are within the preferred pitch, and they are all hipped roof forms as preferred by the design guidelines, with a gable roof form incorporated into the second story addition as well. So for final details review, staff is requesting that the commission provide some feedback and direction to the applicant. The first being the building color. So as you know, the commission has not been supportive of contrasting color palettes. This is not supported by the residential design guidelines that say building palette should be muted earth tones. So condition of approval number 5 has been included that states the color palette shall be revised consistent with the residential design guidelines. There's also non-conforming site coverage, which has been primarily addressed. However, it needs to be further reduced to meet the permeability requirements. And then also, in doing so, the tree density requirement will also need to be addressed, which I alluded to on the forest character slide. So that's addressed under condition of approval number 7. And then, like the previous project I presented, there is some missing information regarding the finished materials. That's more of a housekeeping item. And then an additional housekeeping item is the required inclusion of a landscape/forest enhancement plan, which is condition of approval number 9. So with that, staff is recommending the Planning Commission adopt a resolution as described on the screen, and that concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
Questions for staff from the commission? Commissioner Bolton?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
Evan, do you have any clue what the window that maybe partial of you might be partially obstructed is for? The neighbor mentioned that. I didn't see it in the letter.
Can you say that one more time, please?
Yeah. Do we know what the room is that the window picture we see here is from?
My understanding is
identify that room.
In the correspondence, I believe they said it's a bedroom. I don't have the email in front of me. We can check really quickly though.
That's fine, thanks.
It's a bedroom.
Okay. And they didn't respond to a request for a view by the commission?
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time? For some reason,
yeah, the sound thing is bad.
Yeah.
Let me see if it works better if I don't use my headphones. Can you hear me now?
It's a little better.
Now we're just straight off the laptop. So the question was about the window, what it was. You said it's a bedroom. Thank you very much. That's basically it.
Can you hear the question?
Yeah.
Can you repeat it? Because I can't hear it.
Question. I think we're done.
Maybe you can repeat it, Evan.
He was looking to confirm what room the picture was taken from.
The neighbors.
For the neighbors, and I confirmed it was a bedroom window based on their correspondence.
All right. And it's from that dormer window closest to the turret?
That's what I believe based on some context clues. So I was looking at, for example,
you pointed out that windowsill.
Yeah.
That's from the other dormer.
Mm-hmm. It appears that this dormer is right here.
Okay.
That's my interpretation of the photo.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Does that answer your question, Commissioner Bolton?
Yes, it does. That's fine. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you. All right. That's all the questions from the commission. So would the applicant like to come forward? The applicant's architect I see is here, Adam Jeselnik.
Good afternoon, Chair LePage, commissioners. I'm Adam Jeselnik. I'm the architect for Nick and Michelle, the owners of this house on 4th Avenue. Thanks for your time this afternoon. Thank you, Evan, for your work in preparing the staff report and working with us. I'll just highlight a couple of things that are not maybe immediately apparent by just reviewing the plans, which is a little bit of context for the project overall. The first just being the neighborhood context. The way this house is situated at the edge of city limits, it places it right between, the conventional single 4,000 square foot lots around town and the larger lots that are in the county area between Perry Newberry and Highway 1 there. So this is actually, it's almost a double lot for consideration of what we're used to seeing. And because of that, it provides some additional, floor area and lot area to work with in terms of expanding this house. I'll also add that the clients that I'm working with, they have made this their permanent residence here in Carmel. They have a growing family. So really the impetus for this project has evolved over time, whereas we started with still a relatively modest project on 1 story. It's evolved into the 2-story plan that we're presenting today. And along the way, we had a few, we took a circuitous route to get here, let's say. We had a lengthy review by the Historic Review Board, and then the design revisions that I've mentioned. So we've arrived at a plan after quite a bit of thought and careful consideration, especially regarding the client's needs for this property, all aspects of the city code. And so to that respect, we have a project here that is still really a fairly modest change to what's there now. We're adding 716 square feet, but we're still about 300 square feet below the maximum allowed for this site. We're adding height to the project, of course, but that 2-story mass, as Evan described, is set back from the street. It's really not very visible from the street frontage at all. And the overall height of that 2nd story is 21 feet 7 inches, so still quite a bit below the 24-foot maximum, with a 4.5 and 12 roof slope. So, in general, we're coming to you to ask for support of a project that we feel is very consistent with the city's design guidelines and that meets all aspects of the municipal code. It's unfortunate that this correspondence arrived so late, where we had really no notification or awareness that there was concern from multiple parties. I will just point out, and with respect to the neighbor to the east, if the window in question that the photo is taken from is the one that we are all fairly certain that it is, that's a window that faces to the south. The view that's captured obviously is facing towards the west. So I thought that was important to point out. And also, with respect to the house to the north, again, we have many 2-story homes in this neighborhood. It's not certainly the case that this project will be the only 2-story residence, within view of these neighbors. So with that, I will be happy to answer any questions about the project, and I would be asking for your support. Thank you very much.
I had a quick question, Adam. Was there any particular reason why you selected a standing seam metal roof as opposed to a more traditional composition shingle? It seems like kind of a traditional design house. Seems like that might go with
we considered both options. What it really came down to for this presentation was the longevity and the durability and the fire resistance of the metal roof is superior, in my opinion, to just about anything else that's out there. And the newer metal roofs that have been approved recently by the city that are a matte finish and neutral earth tones, I think are, would be very, fitting for this house.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Adam?
With the concerns from the neighbors, is there any adjustments that you could make that would be a compromise with the neighbors?
Well, I think, Evan had a good, assessment of the potential privacy impacts. It's not certainly in my client's interest to have any, privacy impacts either way. So I think the high windows, and the fact of where those windows occur, in our opinion, that sort of addresses that concern in response to the neighbor, at least to the north. And then in terms of the building height, again, I think that we've designed an addition that's fairly modest in size. The plate heights, the roof slope are all, not at the very bare minimum, but pretty close to the minimum. So we're just kind of, again, feel that that's consistent with the guidelines and in keeping with what the hopes are for this project.
Commissioner Bolton, do you have any questions for Adam?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any members of the public that would like to make some comments? See one coming forward. David?
Hello, David O'Neill again. The people that I'm representing, the residents, would bring up that the design guidelines say to keep the design simple and avoid visual complexity. And the concern is that the standing seam metal roof with all the lines on the siding and stuff like that looks very complex. And we would prefer to see a different type of roof. And also we're concerned about the metal roofs that say they're not allowed in the design guidelines. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I see online, Anne, you have your hand up. You want to unmute yourself?
Yes, hello. Hello, this is Ann Urban. I'm the neighbor to the east. Unfortunately, we didn't actually have a chance to talk with the neighbors or the architect before now. And I'm being impersonated by a frog today, so my apologies for that if I'm hard to understand. And I would just like to start by saying we absolutely understand wanting to have a larger house than what Nick has over there right now, seeing where we are. But there are two things, which is we spend a lot of time in our living room, and those windows on the second floor would be quite close to the property line and quite close to our living room windows. I mean, they're not quite close in any sense. It's like 30 feet away. But it still would change our privacy. We'd probably want to plant something in between the two houses. And the second thing is, despite where we are, we have a tiny little slice of ocean view from our bedroom, and this would actually wipe out that last slice of ocean view. And that's, but we would like to work with the neighbors to come up with something that works for both of us. We have no objection whatsoever to his improving his house. We would just like to maybe push it back from the property line on our side just a bit. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ann. Cindy Lloyd, you have your hand up.
Thank you, Mayor LePage and members of the commission, city staff. My name is Cindy Lloyd. I'm sorry I omitted that last time. My only comment is that one that's already been addressed, but I thought coming from a resident would just add a little weight in that.
Lost the audio.
Pardon?
Cindy, we lost your audio. I don't know if you muted yourself, unmuted yourself, but we lost you there mid-sentence.
Oh my goodness, can you hear me now?
Now we can
hear you now, thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was just saying, I believe that the subject of color has already been noted, that the use of white is not the preferred color, that some muted natural color would be more acceptable. And I just thought, as an independent resident, I would just register my vote for something other than white. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Cindy. Okay, I don't see any other hands up online. Anybody else here in the chamber that wants to comment on this project? Okay, oh, we got a hand up over here. Neil, go ahead, Neil.
Thank you, Mike. Just repeating, sorry to be so repetitive about this, the metal roof issue, as was also brought up by David O'Neill. I want to support his comments in that regard. And again, repeating that the design guidelines clearly say that these are not at all recommended for the residential district. You know, the one thing I neglected to say earlier is that what I have heard from residents is, hey, it's starting to look like Squaw Valley in Carmel. If you've ever been to a ski village, every house has the ribbed metal housing. Certainly not at all consistent with a cottage on the sea, or a village on the sea full of cottages. So that's the one. I think that's about it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Who did?
I believe Tracy Manning wanted to speak on this earlier.
Oh, Tracy, did you want to make a comment?
Hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Hi, sorry, I'm having a little trouble with my Zoom today. I'm on a different computer. I have several concerns with this project, two of which I'll address here. I am the north neighbor, and one of the features of my house when it was designed was very on purpose to have it tuck in to the community, not impact a bunch of people in the community. The original owners wanted the roof line to be the object and everything to kind of tuck in here. And my husband and I bought this house in 1989, and we've tried to continue that tradition. And we seem to be doing okay with our neighbors, because when there's any impact on any of the neighbors, we get it worked out. But what's happening now is this is now going to be a looming structure. I know it's easy to say you can't see it from the street and it's all tucked back, but the reason you can't see it from the street is all shoved back to the north, which would impact me. I'm watching the gentleman today put up the snow fencing, because the yellow flags that were put up originally have now faded to white, which makes the whole project basically disappear and look like nothing's happening. They're putting up snow fencing today, and when you see the snow fencing, it gives you some kind of idea of what the volume of this second floor is going to be. And I don't have, all my windows are towards the front, so I don't impact neighbors. I do have windows on the south side abutting this project. I have shutters, I have frosted windows back there, and I also have screening, so I can't be seen into. But not anymore. When they put this addition up, if it gets passed, it will take out all my sky on the south side. You're welcome to come and look once they get all the snow trappings up and see what I'm talking about. But I am going to lose my sky. I didn't have a view before, that's fine, but I don't think that that's appropriate, because I do get sun from that side. I do worry about the privacy. I think it sounds all hunky-dory to have small 2x2 windows in the bathroom, and they're over a bathtub and over the vanity. I have no interior elevations, so I can't do an exact measurement. I can measure from the plate on the exterior elevations, but at some time, I'll guarantee, going to want to change those windows out. Very small windows all throughout this house. And even if you think it's private, it doesn't feel like private on my side. It feels like this whole project is it's looming over my house. And that doesn't really work for me. But thanks for listening.
Thank you, Tracy. Okay, any other comments from the public online? I don't see any hands going up. Nobody here in the chamber. Okay, I'm going to close the public comments, open it up to the commission. We've got some concerns for the neighbors, so that maybe the commissioners can address that. And then there's been some concerns expressed about the roof material. So Commissioner Bolton, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, a question for staff, I guess, to start. We didn't hear about these concerns till very late in the game, and we didn't get an opportunity to see these issues from the neighbors' properties. There seem to be some potentially significant impacts, but we didn't get a chance to actually check it out. What do we do about this, if anything?
It's really, it's a good question, Commissioner Bolton. It's really at the discretion of the commission. So these comments were received late in the game. It's not like they've been in for 2 weeks and were just now sent to the commission. We just did receive these. And the project applicant is just received them basically at the same time the commission did. You know, the commission has some options if you feel like the issues raised are substantive enough. You know, you could provide direction to continue the item at the concept level and come back with a discussion by the applicant about how they either can or can't meet whatever perceived impacts there are. You could move the project along to final with direction to have those conversations between concept and final. You could make the determination based on the limited amount of time you've had with the correspondences that you either do or don't feel that they're an impact. So you have a host of options. At this point, it's really, there's no legal requirements one way or the other. You know, they are late correspondences, so there's no, like, nothing requiring you to do one thing or the other, but it's really at the discretion of the council. Or commission, sorry.
Well, yeah, thank you. That helps. Could we kind of split the baby and punt on this and ask the next one to be concept and final at the same time by addressing some of these concerns now and then requesting, you know, issues about these privacy things be addressed and come back again? Or
well, you can always.
I'm trying not to just continue it for a month
Sure.
and have the big delay. I'm trying to give the applicant an opportunity because these responses are so incredibly late. If they'd come in early, obviously this would be different. But
Yeah,
I don't want to ignore them.
My counsel to you all would be, if that's the will of the commission, would be to complete the concept hearing and then just have a regular final concept hearing, because you can always continue a final concept hearing and have what is effectively 2 final concept hearings. So I don't think we need to get fancy with procedure and call it a joint, you know, a secondary concept and final. Just if that's what the commission wishes to do, I would just do a final hearing. I would encourage you though to give direction to the applicant what you'd like to know for the final hearing, so that they're not surprised.
Okay, that helps a lot. So I guess I'll just start then. No black and white. We keep saying this. We need to have some natural colors. This ties into the roof. I'm not really supportive of the metal roof in this particular case. One of the reasons was very well brought up, the fact that we're going to have different stripes everywhere. I don't know that this is going to be especially compliant with our design guidelines. So I'd like to see an option for a different roof. I'm very happy about the requirement for more trees. I think that's great. I don't find a lot of privacy issues with the current design, potentially, because I can't tell. So what I'd really like to do is ask the applicant to work with the neighbors between now and final and potentially change design depending on that conversation. I don't have a better way to advise you on that, because as it stands right now, I can not really approve. I wouldn't be able to approve the final on this. So I want to see more. Obviously, we'll get another chance at a site visit. So at that time, I'd really like to see this issue from the neighbors, but maybe there'll be a change in the design already. And then I think that's basically it. I mean, I think the issue about view is the same as the issue with privacy. I just can't tell. That view looks like, in the photo, looks like someone leaned out a window and took a picture at an angle. So if that's really what's going on, I don't see really a view impact. If you're in that room and you have a view impact to the ocean, that's a totally different story, but I can't tell and I don't have enough information. So I guess I can approve the concept theoretically on this with direction to deal with the privacy and view concerns of the neighbors and come back at final with those addressed. And also the other comments I made about the color and the roof. I guess that's it for now. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Bolton. Commissioner Allen, your comments?
Yeah, so I don't think I would be able to approve this as is. I'm very concerned about the comments from the neighbors. And then also I would agree, I don't like the black and white or the metal roof. I would probably suggest that it would be continued and that they would need to work with the neighbors.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen. Yeah, I'm in agreement with Commissioner Allen. There's some pretty serious concerns by the neighbors. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, so we could evaluate it while we were out there. We couldn't evaluate the views, and Mrs. Manning's concerns about in the back, I'd like to look at that a little closer. So that could potentially really affect the design here. So I am not comfortable with passing the concept. I think this item should be continued so that we have better time to evaluate. I know sometimes that's hard for the applicant to hear, but it's our job to look at this. This is concept, and in concept, we really need to see how this affects the neighbors and see what the significance is of that, and possibly give direction on ways to mitigate that. I mean, they may not be significant, but I have no way to evaluate at this point, particularly the views, because we didn't have a chance to take a look. I'm also in agreement with staff's findings that the choice of colors needs to be less of a high contrast, more in reflect what our guidelines say, muted natural colors. And I don't think the metal roof complements this design at all. It's a traditional design. It's basically a hipped roof, kind of a ranch style with a two-story in the back, and I think a more traditional roof material that meets the the challenges of our fire dangers that we have in our community would be better serving the design. I think the other commissioners have expressed the same concerns. So, and I would be happy to just give those as direction and pass this, put those as draft conditions of the condition of approval. But I really feel like we need to, at least I personally need to have a look from inside the residence to the east, and also to take a closer look at the concerns that Ms. Manning has to the north. So having said that, I'd like to make a motion that we continue this so that we have a chance to look at those impacts to the neighbors, both to the north and to the east. And I'd like to see how my fellow commissioners feel about that.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion to continue this item so that we can have a better opportunity to visually inspect the impacts to the neighbors to the east and the north. Is there any more discussion on that?
Just that the added benefit will be we may have more commissioners next time.
I'm sorry, I couldn't.
He said the added benefit might be that you'll have more commissioners next time as well.
Yeah, I would definitely be more comfortable with that. We're a little limited here. We're kind of operating bare bones here. But, no more discussion on that. Can we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Bolton?
Yes.
Chair LePage?
Yes. The motion to continue this item is carried. Thank you. Okay. That brings us to, well, actually, that's it. That's the public hearings, because the last item was continued. So the next item on our agenda tonight is a director's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Only a couple of items, continuing with the theme of a short meeting. Just a heads up for everyone, our next public meeting of the Housing Ad Hoc Committee will be on June 24th from 5:30 to 7:30. One of the focuses of that meeting is going to be talking about the target sites around town. So we'll be talking a little bit more specifically about some of the sites that have been targeted or going to be targeted as potential sites for housing in the future. So please, we ask everybody to come out and continue to be. We've had very good conversations as of late, a lot of people coming out. We just want to hear from everyone. So that's June 24th here in the chambers from 5:30 to 7:30. All bodies would be able to come. So Planning Commission can come, Historic Resources Board, the way that it's noticed, the City Council can come, everyone can come.
And Councilwoman Ferlito and Councilman Richards are going to present a report on that today?
So it's going to be, it's a joint presentation by the community planning and building staff, our consultants at EMC, and the meeting is, led by our subcommittee of the City Council.
The subcommittee.
Yeah, so it's Councilmember Richards and Councilmember Ferlito. will be leading that, but it'll be supported by the community planning and building staff and our consultants at EMC. And then the last update, I'm excited to announce that we have finally completed that scanning and digitizing project. So all files now are digital, available through our website. 5,700 total files were scanned. And when I say files, I don't mean just a thin little file. That means some of these are 12 inches thick. That's one file. So I'll probably be able to figure out the total number of pieces of paper, but it's a lot. And so this means, we all know you can go online any time of day and find historic property files. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to turn our attention to the historic rolled plans. So up at Vista Lobos, which is a city facility, we have really well organized, but just sitting there, old plans all the way back to some really cool historic buildings like the Shell Station that are just sitting up there. So we're going to scan and digitize those, so those are available through our GIS map as well. One of the short-term tasks we need to do, Ev and I need to go through and do a little bit of quality control checking. Every now and then of these 5,700 files that were scanned, we've got maybe 30, 40 of them that have a little dash that was put in the wrong place. So we have a way of tracking that. So over the next week or so, we're going to be going through, but there should be every property that has a property file in town should have it on there. If you try to use the map and something doesn't work, let us know. But we're really excited about that project. It's a way to bring us into the 21st century, which is very exciting. And that's all I have.
Go
Can I
ahead.
ask a question? One thing was I did go on and check out my plans, and it is very cool. Thank you very much for doing that. And then I have another question. Do we have a meeting coming up with the Guideline Steering Committee at some point, or what's the
That's a great question. Yeah, so there will be a community meeting coming up in the not too distant future, and that is planned on being more of a joint meeting. So it'll be something we'll do at Sunset Center at Carpenter Hall.
Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, we'll plan on inviting the Planning Commission. So the Planning Commission also you're going to have your own meetings when drafts get produced and come through the process. But as we're reviewing and making comments on these documents, we do want to have a joint meeting. But the meeting that we do, the steering committee meeting, the regular steering committee meeting is not really the forum for that, because it wouldn't be really fair, honestly, because those meetings are at 10 o'clock in the morning. We'd want to have a much broader community meeting when everyone can attend in the evening with the Planning Commission and the City Council can be there and all that. So that'll be a much more formal meeting, but it is coming. It is coming. We've sort of slowed the process, we've slowed the process a little bit as we've been working through the steering committee, because we realized that we wanted to take a little more time with the draft. And so we had intended on having this more joint community meeting by now, but we think for the benefit of a quality project in the end, we've slowed the process down a little bit. So that's probably what you're feeling a little bit too.
Oh, yeah, well, only because I had my notes ready 2 months ago.
Yeah,
Well,
just because you're an overachiever, that's why.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yep.
I just wanted to go back to that last, you were saying that you've completed the scan, and I want to say that I think that's really amazing that you did that. I mean, that's a lot of work, and I don't think people really realize the effort that took to do that. But that's an incredible resource, not only for people that are wanting to do some research on their projects or whatever, but also for establishing, the historical context and awareness of this community, because all of that paper, it could be gone in a minute from just one natural disaster.
Right.
And to have access to that really helps with people in the future that want to do research, about any particular historic item that has something to do with Carmel. And Carmel has a lot of history. It's an old community by West Coast standards. Not by some of the East Coast, but a lot of people don't realize that Monterey was literally it was the capital, it was the most important place in California. When Monterey was a bustling commercial port of commerce and government, Los Angeles was basically described as a cow path. There was nothing there. So all of that population that flowed to the south was really predated by what happened here and Carmel. So it's really important that, we have this available to us. And what you've done is creating, an accessible, usable historical record that, researchers can use in the future. So I just want to compliment you on that.
Thank you for that. I didn't pay you to say all that, but thank you very much. And I do want to make sure, I've had some people ask.
I'm not getting paid? What?
Sorry about that. I have people ask, what happened to all these paper files? Because, when I first got here, our offices back here, which are behind this chambers, were just crammed with file cabinets. Like you had to it was like a one aisle through. So those still exist. We keep them safe. We have a company called Iron Mountain that has temperature controlled, fire resistant, humidity controlled facilities where we ship them off in special boxes, and we know where they're at. They're all labeled in a certain way, so we can call them back if we need them. They still exist.
So you archived all that
they're
physical...
they're all like professionally archived.
That's a great resource
so
too.
we know where they're at if we need them. And the cool
Yeah.
thing, and then I'll get off my horse about this. I could talk about this forever, but the cool thing about the way that the files were scanned is that you can go in on your site, and there's a little bar at the top where you can search by word. So let's say you're curious about a fence. No, it's okay. You're curious about a fence on your property, you can search the word fence, and not only will it find typed words, but it'll also find handwritten words that are legible. So it's a really powerful search tool that you can use to dive into these old properties. And it's fun to see old plans. I mean, you can see scans of these big actual blueprints that were hand done. It's very cool.
Yeah, like I was saying tonight, it's pretty rare we see any hand-drawn plans anymore, but there, that's what really was until recently. All the plans were like that, and every plan had its own character and personality. Each architect, designer, they did little things which they became known for, and not just their designs, but just the way they made these documents, and all that says something about this community, its history, its character. So it's really important. Okay, so I think that's it. Our next meeting is June 14th, and we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Have a good week, month.